The VIP Crew with Vivek, Wallace, and Big P, Percy, Crawford.
The VIP Crew.
The halftime show was the big story for the night, and I think it actually ended up being the more entertaining element of the night. But let's start with that. What were your thoughts about the Bad Bunny performance and all of the specifics surrounding it?
Yeah, so obviously I'm not bilingual, so I didn't understand any of the lyrics. And what people got to understand is that's okay. Man, I vibed out to so much shit I didn't know what they were saying. Bone Thugs and Harmony, hell, Mystical, Ozzy Osbourne. I mean, I could Janis Joplin screaming and shit. You don't always know what she's saying. My playlist is diverse as hell. Bad Bunny just so happened doesn't fit the genre of music I listen to, so I didn't know any of his songs. But when you don't know, it's like being in a nightclub, V. If you don't know the song that's played, you kind of go by the vibes of everybody. I can vibe to anything if it's vibing or it's worth vibing to. So it was a good vibe. It was high energy. Look, he incorporated two boxers, so he won me over right off the rip with Xander Zayas and Emiliano Vargas, who was Fernando Vargas' son. So when I saw them two boxing, I'm like, okay, I can dig this a little bit. But overall, good performance. And you don't always have to understand everything. Like, I was a teenager listening to the blues. Shit, I hadn't lost anybody. I hadn't had anything to be sad about, but fuck, I can vibe to the blues. So I don't know. I just see a lot of people like, I don't know shit he's saying. Man, you don't have to. Just vibe.
Yeah, no, I'm with you 100% on that. You know, and being from South Florida, having a background with Caribbean, Latin, all of that in there sprinkled in. You know, and not only that, actually, bring it even closer to home. My two older kids are Puerto Rican. So, you know, I just try to kind of sit back and read the room, kind of see what everyone's thinking. Me personally, it was definitely a vibe. You don't grow up in this South Florida landscape and not have some appreciation for the Latin culture in particular. You know, so, I mean, we'll say, I'll put it like this. Last year when Kendrick Lamar performed, there was a lot of symbolicism, a lot of things he spoke about that looked one way and meant something else. And that was on full display last night. So even if you didn't know the words or the lingo, it was enough symbolicism where you could look and actually understand what was happening. You know, there are a lot of different references. There were messages in it that some people get, some may not. But I think it was definitely something for everyone to look at, appreciate, and go back and actually do the research to understand why it was such a big moment for Puerto Rican people or Latinos in general. So I would definitely say kudos to him from that standpoint. I think to take it a step further, I was happy that he didn't turn it into something else. You know, he kept the main thing, and that's pretty much all I could ask for. So all he needed to do is music is a vibe. So yeah, it is what it is.
Kept it about the performance. You know, and I think V, just a full circle, our careers, we come from boxing. So in terms of people's, you know, not understanding or not being bilingual or speaking Spanish, we come from a sport where some of the biggest stars ever, one of my favorite fighters all time is Felix Trinidad. Boxed for years, never spoke English. One of the greatest Mexican boxers of all time, Julio Cesar Chavez, still to this day, I don't think can speak English. And this was in the 80s and 90s, you know, and that's not even including the Cuban fighters and sliding over to the MMA spectrum with, you know, Anderson Silva and guys who just learned to speak a little English. So I guess I'm not as offended or feel a certain type of way about it because I cover a sport and I come from a sport where the main characters don't have to speak English, but you understand the message. So like you just said, man, I'm glad he kept the performance. It was a vibe to me, man. It was all good. And guess what? If it wasn't, I would have did something else. Shit, I ain't got to post on Facebook that I didn't watch it. That's the most immature shit ever to me.
Yeah, you know, I purposely went to a sports bar to watch the game because I wanted to kind of soak up the energy of the locals. And so I like going out, talking to random people and, you know, meeting new people. So I was actually surprised because South Florida is obviously a stronghold for Latin community, Puerto Rican in particular. And I was really surprised. You know, I just kind of looked around at the people during the actual performance. I didn't see the response I thought that I would. I expected a much stronger energy, and it kind of hit me. And this is kind of segueing into a different topic, but what hit me was that being the highest streamed artist doesn't necessarily make you the best artist. Entertainment value when you're on stage and people are looking is a whole different thing. So I was a little surprised with that, where it seemed like this is a massive artist, but the entertainment value for some didn't seem to be there. What was your thoughts along those lines?
I think we're in such a different era, man. Like, people don't understand. When you had to sell hard physical copies, those were people who were going out to Sam Goody's or FYI and all these places that sold music, Best Buy, and they bought a physical hard copy of your album. Stream is at the palm of your hand. You could say, oh shit, I like this song, and press that buy button and not even know who's the artist. So when I see, like,
not to cut you off, but you're
a
hell of a point, because one of the things I used to do, you probably the same, most of us were like this. When you go to buy that hard copy, I would read every single thing in there, from the producer credits to their thank yous to whatever. Like, you read the entire insert because you wanted to know, and you were able to find out who else was involved with the project, whatever. Now that stuff is non-existent.
It's non-existent. And V, you read that because if you got in your car and you drove to a place that sold music and you bought that album, you felt the connection to that artist. Now, I see my kids do it all the time. Oh, I like that song. I got to find out who's singing so I can download it. We didn't have those moments. We were like in part of the rollout. Like, oh, November 15th is Usher's new album or whatever. So I think being the most streamed artist, it's kind of a little bit of fool's gold because of everything I just said. It's not like a physical hard copy of an album you're buying. So, not discrediting Bad Bunny, because being the most streamed anything is awesome. I just don't think it comes with the level of fanfare that going platinum in the 90s had, because of the actual interaction and going by it. And hell, you remember when some of the stores started letting you listen to like 30 seconds of the song, you know, and that was the dopest shit ever. So I just think it's a lot of fool's gold now because of how easily accessible a lot of this music is.
Yeah, you know, one thing to piggyback on that, when you talk streams, you know, back in the day when they counted volume for, you know, the album or whatever, each one of those numbers represented an actual buy. So there was that many people buying the album. Streams, if I listen to a song 30 times in one day, those all count. Correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, I don't do the streaming as much as everyone else, but I mean, these are not like fresh streams. This is just, they're recording or counting every time someone listens to these tracks, right? Is that how that works?
That's how I believe it works. And too, V, if they had a 12-track CD back when we were coming up, you bought 12 tracks. Now I can go through 12 tracks and say I only like these two. So if you have, say, 1 million people buy two, are you really appreciating the project or just those two tracks? So does that go as a record sale? Like, it's just so different now, man. It's kind of like going to a movie and watching a movie as opposed to watching it on Netflix. That movie just has a more intimate experience to me, and it's just different now.
100%. Yeah, and I mean, like you said, it's no discredit to Bad Bunny. He was on that stage last night for a reason. But I mean, yeah, hell of a show. You know, it was great entertainment value for those who came for that. Those who didn't, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, man, interesting night. Not necessarily our best game. But it is what it is. Before we shut it down, though, any parting thoughts, anything you want to say to the viewers and listeners out there?
Let's go back to enjoying shit, man. Let's go back to enjoying shit. And that's a simple message. It's not complex at all. But when you see so many people take something as fun as a Super Bowl, this is the end of football to next season. And as fun as what halftime shows could be. And you just see so much complaining and nitpicking and just, man, let's go back to enjoying shit. And guess what? If you don't enjoy it, turn away from it. I don't enjoy baseball or NASCAR. I don't have to get on social media and complain about it. I don't watch it. So once we can get back to that, just avoiding what you don't like and embracing what you do like, let's get back to enjoying shit.
I agree, man. You know, speaking about halftime, it's a little piece of history I want to put out there. A lot of people I'm seeing don't know this, and I was reminded of this recently, but I saw something where they was talking about the fact that, and you are old enough to remember this, at one point, halftime for the NFL Super Bowl was like local bands or college bands or different little things. Well, 1993, thanks to Ken Ivory Wayans and that whole circuit with In Living Colors, if you remember, they did the segment where they basically put on a show during halftime, and that show basically pulled over 20 million viewers. So the NFL was like, yo, you know what? Okay, so we're going to have to come a little stronger. The next football season, their first introducing act, you know, to move forward was Michael Jackson. And they've basically gotten bigger ever since, practically. So, you know, it's interesting when we talk about whether people like or don't like. At one point, none of us really cared for the halftime shows, but at least now they're putting something in there that, you know, I think they can disperse it a little better. I heard someone mention, you know, it would be nice to get a country artist. We haven't really seen that. And I'm good with guys like Luke Combs, Chris Stapleton, et cetera. So, you know, maybe that's next.
Yeah, I think it'll eventually diversify. What people have to understand is you're never going to please everybody. I've never seen a halftime show where in unison everyone cheered. Never. I remember seeing Dre, Snoop, and all them. You know, people said how much of a nostalgic moment it was, but then you had the contention the younger people was like, get this shit off my TV. So you're never going to please everyone. Keep it diverse. If you like it, watch it. If you don't, man, go flip the burgers. go iron the uniform for tomorrow's work day or whatever, man. But I just don't understand complaining about shit that you're supposedly not into watching. If you're not watching, how do you know it sucks?
Yeah. This one, the backlash when Bad Bunny was identified as the performer. I mean, it started back then, and it continued through the performance, and it's actually still going. So, you know, it is what it is. Can't please everybody. We'll never be able to please everybody. So, but on that note, we're going to go ahead and wrap it all up. Top the loose ends, ladies and gents. As always, thank you all for listening. I have a personal segment coming a little bit later where I'm going to break down some of this. Nothing too extensive, but just another point that I needed to make separately. So I'm going to, I'll do that. You guys can look out for that. But that's all for the VIP, guys. As always, peace. God bless. One love, y'all. Thank you.
The VIP crew with Vivek Wallace and Big P Percy Crawford.
The VIP crew.